I want to talk a little bit about why we need to keep procurement public. A little bit of a backstory. I did my high school and undergrad in the late 90s, early 2000s in Southern Ontario, and I lived just outside of the city of Hamilton. Now, the city of Hamilton in 1994 was going through the same kind of process that you're going through today. They were trying to decide where they were going to source their water treatment, their sewage treatment, and they decided on a private corporation. Now, when they did so believing that this was going to be the cheaper option, that they were going to be able to go with private capital, save public capital, and put the risk off on a private corporation. Unfortunately, what they discovered was that when the bill came due, it was the taxpayers that ended up paying for this. In the late 1990s, there was a spill in the harbor in Hamilton. 180 million liters of raw sewage was spilled into that harbor, and the corporation that was running it, surprisingly, went bankrupt, roughly around the same time. The next corporation that had taken over also went bankrupt. And what happened was the city of Hamilton and the taxpayers of the city of Hamilton ended up having to foot the bill for the cleanup of that raw sewage spill. The risk, in fact, hadn't been transferred off of the city. It came back to bite every one of those taxpayers when that spill happened. Now, there's no such thing as a free risk transfer, and this is what the city of Hamilton found out when the 10-year contract was up in 2004, and they went back to try and figure out what they were going to do at that point. They went back and they were deciding at that point they thought they were still going to stick with a private company, but they decided they needed to fix some of the problems that had occurred up until then. So they said, what we're going to do is make sure that the next contract has in it clauses that ensure that the private corporation will have to carry the liability for any spills or any accidents, anything like that that happens. Now, when they put that out for tender, the bill they were given was $38 million, 3 times the cost of doing it publicly. And when they asked why, it was because there was a 200% risk premium put on top. There is no such thing as a free risk transfer. Looking at this more generally, I mean, the economics of it are clear. It costs more to do things through a P3 project. On average, it costs about 130% what it costs to do them publicly. And the lengths of these contracts, not only they cost more, but they limit our flexibility in future years. And this is something that's important for me, because I'm concerned about the future years. I'm concerned about in 10 years, in 20 years, when I have kids and my kids are growing up, and I have priorities as a taxpayer that I want to see funded in this city. When I want to see money put towards housing, when I want to see money put towards transit, this money is going to be tied up in long contracts with private corporations that are running these things. I don't want to see this happen to this city. I don't want to see this happen to my future. At the end of the day, it's a question of whose interest these are being operated in. And this is the question that should always be foremost in our mind when we're considering whether we should be going with a private corporation for something or whether we should be staying with public ownership. With a private corporation, profit is the interest. With a public-owned project, it's the public interest that matters.
You have 1 minute.
With a private corporation, it is the shareholders at the end of the day that this company is beholden to that has the say over how these decisions are made. With public ownership, it's the residents of the city, it's the taxpayers of the city. Finally, it's a question of whether we want this in the market domain, where it's the logic of profit, where it's the logic of minimizing costs, minimizing expenses, or whether it's in the public domain, where it's the interests of providing a service to the citizens of this city, to the citizens of this region. For me, it's no question. When it comes to water treatment, when it comes to sewage treatment, these things need to stay in the public domain because these are matters that are foremost of the public interest. Thank you.